Hi everyone. So for today's lesson, what I'm going to do is I'm not really going to show you anything crazy new. There might be one or two things that maybe you haven't seen applied in a certain way, but there are no real new commands that I'm going to be showing here. What I am going to be doing is modeling for you a final project type 3D model and how I would copy things, put them together, mirror them, pattern them, etc., so that I can make my job a little bit easier. So here on the right side of your screen, you see this model toy truck, and I'm just gonna model the back of this, the wagon. I forget what the name of this type of part of the car is. Uh, the trailer, I guess. Yeah. So I'm just gonna make that part. And then hopefully there's going to be some things here that apply directly to yours, and it's going to make it a lot easier for you to make your final project. I am missing, I don't have dimensions, so I'm going to have to estimate them. You hopefully have your toys or whatever you're making so you can actually measure and get it to be correct. I also am not sure what's on the undercarriage, how these connect, so I'm just going to assume there's just a flat piece underneath here. Other than that, I can see most of what's happening here. It's hollow in the inside, in the this bed. So let me get started. I'm going to start with the wheel. You can go in whatever order you want with these because I'm just going to be making these parts and then putting them together. I'm going to make it a little bit differently than how you might expect. As opposed to drawing a cylinder and cutting away from it, I'm actually going to use the revolve command here. There are a bunch of ways you can approach this, but I think using the revolve command is going to be the easiest. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll start with a rectangle that I'll start at the origin. And I'm going to set the diameter of this wheel to be 2 inches. So I'm going to do 2, and the thickness of the wheel is going to be half an inch. So this is going to be the radius, and this is going to be the thickness. I actually want this to not be 2 inches. Since I'm going to revolve this, I need to shrink it to be 1 inch. So let me delete this guy and do it again. So rectangle, 0, 0, and then 1 inch by 0.5 inches. Okay, and then this is going to be revolved. Now let's set up other features of this wheel, because if I revolve this right now, so if I took this rectangle and just revolved it about this line here, then I would just get a cylinder. But I want some other details. I want a hole in the middle. I want to have this little intrusion that we see here. So let me draw all those things. So I'll start with a line. And it looks like it's this middle part is a 1/4 inch hole about. So I'll recess this line in 1/4 of an inch. So it's going to be 0.75, comma 0. I want it to go straight up. Trim this. I didn't really need to do it that way, but whatever. Okay. So I've done that line, and basically when I revolve this, I actually made this a little bit too far. It shouldn't be 0.75. It should be more than that. It should be 1 minus 0.125, so 0.875, comma 0, then straight up to here. So when I revolve, I'll just revolve this portion as opposed to this. So I'll get a hole in the middle when this gets revolved. If this isn't making sense, wait till I actually do it, and I think it'll make a lot more sense once that's done. Then I'll draw a circle in order to form this little intrusion here. Circle, and it looks like it's in a little bit along here. And then it's going to say it's 0.125 about radius. Oh, that looks a little bit too big. Let me draw that again. Let's go with 1/16 of an inch. Let's see what that looks like. That looks good. Let's trim this up. That gone, and that gone. Okay. Good. Now what I can do is I can join these to be one object, and I can rotate this just so I can make sure I see what I'm doing, and I can go ahead and revolve Select objects to revolve, so this is what I'm revolving, and this is my axis of rotation, and I want it to go 360 degrees. Let's see what our result is. If you guys will bear with me, I've been teaching another CAD program in my robotics classes, so I'm a little rusty on the controls on AutoCAD now. The zoom and stuff is a little reversed. So the size looks a little bit off. I'll just go back, change where this intrusion is, this little cutout. Try that again. I think it'll look a little bit better. And, I'm not measuring here, so obviously my sizes are going to be a little bit off, but I do want it to be kind of close proportionally. Just like that. Rotate it around 360 degrees. Hop in a conceptual. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I mean, the size is a little bit off again, but it's since I don't have the measurements, I think it'll do the trick. Try to get this part to go, this piece to go away. I don't know why this is floating on my keyboard. Not on my keyboard, on my screen. But I guess that's just stuck there now. Okay. Now that I have my wheel, I can go ahead and make other parts. I'm going to make this axle that goes through the wheel. And I'm not going to make multiple wheels because my plan is to make copies of it or pattern it. I'm not going to make this wheel many times. I'm just going to make it once. Now let me take care of that axle, which is really just a cylinder, so I'll draw a circle. And the orientation of these things don't really matter right now. They'll matter later, and that's when I will change that orientation. I'll set the diameter of this circle to be 1/4 of an inch. So I need the radius to be 0.125. Then I will extrude it, or you can press pull it. And the length that I'm going to do here is going to be, we'll make it, let me think for a second why I want to make that part. So I'll make this part 2 inches, and each of these is 1/2 inch, so that's 4 inches total. And then I want it to stake out past the wheel, another 1/4 of an inch. So that's 2 plus 1 is 3, plus 1/4 of an inch on each side. So 3.5, I'll make these 3.5 inches long. And that takes care of my axles. I'll need to put little holes that go through them on each end. Now to put holes in the ends of this axle, because you see on the ends of these axles there's pins going in. So I need some holes in here. This can be a little bit tricky. Let me show you how I attack it. So I'm going to move my coordinate system the way I've shown in previous lessons, and I'm going to move it onto the cylinder. And then I should be able to get a grid on the cylinder. And actually, I want to move this so it's at the bottom of the cylinder so I can be really exact about where I'm putting this circle. And if I rotate here, you'll see that I'm right on the edge of the cylinder, which is good. So what I recommend you do, I'll just go back a bit, if you have something like this, is when you grab that that coordinate system, the UCS, you actually click on the end of the cylinder. But also make sure it's upright. I'm just going to move the y-axis up here. Okay, because I want to be able to attack the grid right here. So I'll draw a circle now, and I will put this hole, which is I'm going to make an 1/8 of an inch in diameter. I'll put it up a 1/16 of an inch. So I'll do The center will be at 0, 0.125. And I'll just make a hole. Let me snap to the right to this view so see what I'm doing. I'll just put it right to that size. Let me make sure that the radius is something I can work with. I'll make it 0.05. So the pin I'll make have a diameter of 0.1. I'll revisit that later. Looks about right. And then I can go ahead and press pull this circle, this hole through here. And if it's not working where it actually cuts it away, I can use the subtract tool, which I don't have visible here, but I'll pull up. Subtract. I'm first going to select what I want to keep, which is the rod, hit enter, and then select the part I want gone, which is this piece, and hit enter. And there we go, I have now this hole. Looks like it didn't cut through all the way, so I needed to actually pull it in both directions. Okay, I'll go back a bit and pull it again. Okay, subtract, enter, enter. Okay, now we have our cutout here. And what I could actually do is I can go back a bit. No, I can mirror this up top as well, so that I can do one cut, both cuts in one go, because I need a hole on both ends of this axle. So I can mirror this object about the center of the cylinder. And since it's in both spots, I can do the subtract all in one go, or you can do it separately. But this is just, a little shortcut, so I don't have to make this pin twice in here. There we go. We have the axle, and now to make the pin, I will hop back into the standard WCS. And basically, I'm going through, I'm making all of the individual parts of this. So this pin is going to have a radius of 0.05, and it's going to be extruded. Looks like about 0.75 inches. And there we go, we have our pin, which we'll need to make some copies of. Okay, we have our wheel, we have our axle, we have our pin. Now we have to do this, the heart of the trailer that we have here. So to make the trailer, I am going to want to utilize the origin, and I am going to want to hop back into 2D wireframe while I'm creating it. So let me go ahead and move these components out of the way. So I can work in that space, and I can get rid of these errant sketches while I'm at it. So I'll hop back into 2D wireframe, into my top view. Don't worry, all these items are still here. And I will start to draw first the bottom part of the trailer. So I will draw a rectangle. And again, I'm estimating some of these sizes. So this is going to be a top view, so I'll start at the origin. And I was going to make it have a width of 5.5 inches and a depth of 2 inches. Might be a little bit long, but it's okay for this. And then we have the piece that extends out on the opposite side. I'm going to put a line in the middle because that's going to be our mirror. make it the same on both sides. I'll make it stretch out 1 inch. So that means there's going to be 1 inch on each side. I'll go out ½ inch this way, and then I'll connect like so. And then I'll go ahead and mirror these 2 lines onto the other side. Use this as my mirror plane. And this starts taking shape. This is a rectangle right now. Let me trim it up. Get rid of this line here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to extrude this using press pull. If press pull doesn't work, it looks like it's not working for this, I'll go ahead and join these and extrude. And I'm just going to extrude just the bottom flat part. Oh, I just realized you can't see that. The bottom flat part up 1/4 inch. I'm going to hop into conceptual to make sure nothing weird happened when I extruded that. Nope, looks good. And then I'm going to go ahead and sketch in this piece that, the hollowed out part. So I'll draw 2 rectangles. One that goes the full width of this, and then one that's going to be offset from that rectangle. So I'm going to do offset by 0.25 inches, which is what I'm going to make, what I'm estimating the wall thickness is. It looks like it might be a little bit more. No, 0.25 looks good. And then I'll select my rectangle and offset in 1/4 inch. Now I have this nice enclosed area that I should be able to press pull. So I'll press pull up, however far that piece is going to go. I'm going to have it come up. Looks like it comes up about 1 inch. I go into conceptual to see what it looks like. Looks pretty good, I think. It's missing its fillets. It's missing the piece on the bottom. But I like to do fillets last because they tend to get in the way if you're trying to base stuff off of corners. So I won't do fillets just yet. Okay, let's go ahead and draw in this bottom section. I'm going to move my UCS so that I have my grid up here. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on my y-axis and bring it up. Well, that looks like it messed up my grid a little bit. Let me undo that. Okay, let's try that once more. Click on this corner here. Okay. Make sure I'll zoom around a little bit. Not zoom around, pan around a little bit. Rotate to make sure that the grid's in a good spot. Okay, looks good. And then what I'll do is I'll just draw in the portion that lives in this space, where the wheels will go through. So that's going to be a rectangle. And I'll start it in about 1.5 inches, we'll call it. So it's going to be 1.5 along the x-axis, and then 0 along the y. And then I will have it come down. I'll have it come down an inch. Should be good. An inch. And I'll have it come across 3.5 inches. These are all estimates because I can't actually see the object. You would hopefully be able to measure yours. But I'm not going to extrude this just yet. I also want to put in the holes because I could extrude this and then put in the holes later, but I think it's a little bit easier if I put in the holes for the axle now. If you remember, this axle has a diameter of 0.25 inches. So I'll use that, and I'll just line it up right here. 0.25 inches. And then what I'll do is I'll mirror this circle about the middle. Oh, no, I messed up. This, I set it to have a radius of 0.25. I need it to have a radius of 0.125 because the diameter is 0.25. Okay, mirror this about the middle here. And then I can go ahead and press pull this. This is a bound area. Let me hop into 2D wireframe because it looks like something weird is happening here. Press pull. That'll be very cooperative. Well, in that case, I guess I can just extrude it and then just pull in those 2 circles I drew. So this is going to go across 2 inches. So it should be the same as the other one. Good, should line up nicely. And then I should be able to press pull these circles through, create holes. Let's hop into conceptual to make sure this looks okay. Looks pretty good. I mean, it's not perfect, but looks like a pretty good wagon to me. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and fillet all the edges. Actually, no, I'll do the fillet edges after I finish combining everything, because the corners and the edges are going to be, I think, helpful in some spots when I'm assembling. And I can always add the filleted edges later because it's not like I'm replicating this. Let me just go ahead and make this all one object using union. Okay, so that'll be it for this video. In the next video, I will go ahead and assemble all of these pieces together to make the trailer on the back of this truck.